Strat ran, clutching the geelip he had pilfered from the vendor's cart in a death grip. His hand, trembling from the cold, had not betrayed him when he plucked the fruit from the pile. No shout had gone up. No hand had seized him. Even the vendor had failed to notice his small fingers sliding the striped apple free. Still, Strat ran, as though chased by every city civil force officer in Joran. The geelip, ripe and gleaming red and yellow, was the first food he'd seen in days. Tonight it would be his banquet. For a stomach that had known only empty grumblings, it was a feast worthy of kings. A gust of wind snapped his coat out behind him. He cursed winter's lingering grip. Spring had officially begun 8 days ago, but the westerly still clawed at his skin with icy fingers. Strat hugged the geelip to his chest, unwilling to risk a pocket. Too many holes, too many chances to lose the prize. The air grew sharper as the sun slipped beneath the horizon. Erunost was supposed to herald growth and rebirth, yet Untab, the last month of winter, still held sway. Strat scarcely noticed. His thoughts belonged to the fruit in his palm. He usually waited for full dark before venturing into Greater Joran, but hunger had forced his hand. His ragged clothing and dirt-caked face marked him for what he was, a street urchin, an orphan. Citizens looked away, but the civil force looked closely. The brothel masters paid well for children who were pretty enough, or at least intact. Strat, malnourished though he was, still had all his teeth, prime stock. Those not chosen faced a trial without justice and a rope without mercy. So Strat kept to shadows and back streets, darting glances over his shoulder. Every officer could mean the gallows. Every stranger might be an assassin. Yet hunger had driven him out before sunset, and it had paid off. By the time he reached Seedy Acres, the rotting heart of the seaport he called home, the geelip was slick with sweat in his palm. A sudden hush fell over the streets. Strat slowed. Shops remained open, lamplight spilling onto cobbles, but no one walked the lanes. He scanned both ends of the street, the rooftops above. Empty. Too empty. There were only ever 2 reasons for such silence: assassins or the city civil force. He slipped into shadow and listened. Nothing. That silence was worse than footsteps. Skilled hunters knew how to wait. Strat forced himself to count. 60 heartbeats, always 60. When nothing stirred, he pressed on. Yet the sensation of being watched clung to him like cobwebs. Stellan Road, known to locals as Warlock's Way, twisted ahead. King Kulbhart had decreed that all practitioners of forbidden arts live there: necromancers, warlocks, enchantresses, occultists. To most citizens they were undesirables, but to Strat they were far more genuine than the pompous wizards of Greater Joran. Here, at least, the city civil force did not tread. Clients came freely, seeking spells and bargains, and even sailors avoided trouble by keeping to Kelton's shop near the docks. The charlatan's wares were worthless, but his threshold was far enough from danger to draw passing coin. Strat cared little for Kelton. He only wanted the safety of his alley, the cold stone he called home. But the prickling on his neck grew sharper with each step. He rubbed his hands on his cloak, switched the geelip from one palm to another, then rounded the corner into his sanctuary, and collided with a man. The stench of piss clung to the figure blocking his path. Behind him, leaning against Kelton's foul-smelling wall, stood another. No one ever came into this alley, not once in the 3 years he had lived here. "What have we here?" the man slurred. "My fault," Strat said quickly, edging sideways. He caught the gleam in his eye and froze. "Eloquent speech for such a young boy," the second murmured. "You're right," the drunkard grinned, fumbling at his trousers. "What are we to do about you causing me harm, boy?" Strat's stomach clenched. Why today? of all days when he finally had food. "I apologized," he said evenly. "Nothing more needs to be done." "The whelp's got brains," the second remarked. Voice calm, too calm. "Brains or not, he'll pay," the drunk spat. Reluctantly, Strat slid the geelip into his pocket. He longed to wash it and taste its sweet flesh, but if he had to run, it must be safe. A gust of wind swept foul odors through the alley. The drunk gagged, and Strat used the moment to retreat a few steps. "Please," he said, "leave me be. I apologized. Isn't that enough?" "You owe me!" the drunk roared. Strat bolted. He tore down the alley toward the fence. A small hole would see him safe on the other side. The drunk could never catch him, and surely the other wouldn't bother. "Come back!" the drunk shouted. "Looks like you've lost this one," the second chuckled. But Strat heard it, the second man's footsteps, fast, gaining. Panic surged. He dove for the fence, sliding across the mud. His fingers reached for freedom, and an iron grip clamped his ankle. Splinters gouged his palms as he clawed at the fence, but the man dragged him back, threw him to the ground. Water soaked his rags. Boots followed. Strat curled tight, shielding his face, his chest. Pain flared in his arms and legs with each blow. "Please stop," he sobbed. The beating went on. One savage kick crushed the geelip against his ribs. Sweet juice and blood soaked his shirt. The loss of the fruit cut almost deeper than the pain. Another kick. A rib cracked. Breath bubbled in his chest, sharp and wet. Blood filled his mouth. He coughed, gagged, choking on it. "You'll kill him," the second warned. "No, he'll just wish I had." Strat tried to crawl, but a fist caught his cheek. His head slammed into the mud, filth filling his mouth. Vision blurred, the world narrowed to pain and hunger and the copper taste of blood. And then darkness threatened to claim him.